estate remote investors, and talk about 50% rule, 1% rule, markets to invest in, and class of properties and locations. So a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Lane Kawoka. I grew up here in Hawaii. I know kind of what this is all about, living here in Hawaii. I lived in the mainland for about 14 years prior in Washington. But I'm gonna out myself, went to Mid-Pac. And make your own judgments there. So my professional resume, I'm a BS Industrial Engineering and a Master's in Civil Engineering from both from the University of Washington. I started my career as a supervisor of construction management on the mainland, working for Surgeon Railroad that is owned by Mr. Buffett. I professional engineer in Hawaii, you can look me up. I haven't made any bridges that's collapsed yet. Project engineer, I moved from that supervisor role, which really sucked. There's me in the left. I managed a crew of like 30 guys, 55 ages and over that were my parents' ages, and it was a great time to learn things. I switched more of a desk role later on in 2013 to 15. I was project engineer, managed, design, permit, constructed $185 million of capital improvements. Then that was all on the private side. Then I started to move to the public sector, a little bit better quality of life. 2015 to 17, I became a city engineer up in Kirkland, Washington, the home of the Costco Kirkland toilet paper and all of the goodies up there. And then a few years later, I met this wonderful lady in the back who inspired me to move back home finally. I've always wanted to move back home, but it's so expensive to live here, right? I mean, I went to Washington every year, like 120 kids go to Washington every single class, and very few of us make it back the way we want and not have to live with our parents. Currently, I'm an engineer up at Tripler. You can find me there. I kind of hide on LinkedIn a little bit, but that's what I do today. That's me chilling at work. It's kind of fun these days, a lot more better than the private days. And you guys can, my full bio is up there about me, but a little bit more, I'm a cheapo. So do you guys know what Mod Pizza is? It's on the mainland. Oh, okay. So here's a little trick here. Mod Pizza, you can get the salads, right? This is all kind of stuff I would do. I'd get a mega salad out there, and then you can just eat salad for days, and it's cheaper than a pizza. But I would do all these kinds of weird things from my early 20s to save a heck of a lot of money. I just add stuff as I make stuff up. You know, I mean, how do you get a free lunch and your girlfriend to come to this conference today? You give a speech, I guess. That's my trick there. So my real estate resume, I own 15 apartment buildings, 2 manufactured home developments. That's mobile home parks. That's a nice way of saying that. Kind of a dirty asset, I guess. Assisted living facility, 2,100 units. $255 million, a bunch of different markets I'm in personally. Whoa.
Just misbehaving.
Hey Toby, can we turn back the internet, please?
Is it going crazy?
I moonlight as a tech.
So, I guess Toby, maybe you just have to we're gonna have to synchronize this together. So, my real estate resume, I began investing in 2009, so this is quite a while ago. Just in case you're wondering, I'm 33 years old today. I may look 18.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. This is probably why I never really liked working in corporate America, because I was working for 5-7 years at that point, and I was sort of kind of a veteran, I guess, in terms of engineering roles, but they told me to go pick up the boxes with the interns. And I was like, man, I've been here for 5-7 years already. I'm gonna go pick up the boxes with the interns, right? So obviously I don't really have any white hair coming in yet, but I'm, I kind of saw, climbing the corporate hierarchy is not my path, because it was gonna take me a lot longer to get there than what I wanted. So 2009, I bought my first rental property because I was traveling so much for work. I would leave out on a Sunday to come back Friday night because that's just what that job was. Pretty good job then after the recession. I mean, I was just lucky to have a job that paid me pretty good salary for a young kid. So I bought a place to live in. It was about $350,000 in Seattle. There it is, if you guys are familiar with Green Lake, right north of there. And I rented for $2,200 a month. My mortgage and PITI was $1,600. So if you do the math there, that was about $600 of profit. Like, I didn't know anything about the rent to value ratios, all this stuff I'll kind of talk about a little bit, but all I knew, that was a lot of beer money for a young 20-year-old kid. And as I said, and I'll kind of talk about some of my struggles as a W-2 employee. At that point, I was like, shoot, I gotta just like repeat this, rinse, wash, repeat, again and again and again, because this is my ticket out of the rat race. So I bought another couple of units in Seattle, in West Seattle. The first one obviously was an A-class property, and the next one was more of a B+. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but then 2012 came along, the prices kept going up and up and up. Things weren't cash flowing, so I was like, uh-oh, what do I do? So again, I started Googling, right, and then I find like, oh, people are buying these turnkey rentals, where people rehab them, fix them up. And then I just bought one. I mean, Birmingham, Alabama was my first. It worked. Lo and behold, it worked. So what do? But I sell my 2 rental properties in Seattle to a 1031 exchange for 2 to 9 properties. So by the time 2016 rolled around, I had 11 single-family homes, Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and 1 in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. I screwed around a little bit with international farmland investing. You guys can talk about with me later. That's kind of a fun one. But the big thing is I spent a lot of money for my education. A lot of the first stages were like free stuff, podcasts. I have my own podcast. There it is in the bottom, Simple Passive Cash Flow. You guys can Google that, iTunes, Google Play, that's all free. But I found like, I mean, I guess I'm like a early millennial. Like, you should be able to find everything on the internet. I mean, it's 2019, right? I got myself up to the furthest I could go, I felt like, but I needed to scale and go bigger. So I paid for a lot of education at that point. So I felt like that was a big critical step for myself. So those, I didn't see any of these properties, Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, when I first did it. Sounds crazy, but there's a lot of good strategies you can do. It's about building relationships with people on the ground. So this is a diagram that you guys can Google. It's called a Sankey diagram. I'm an engineer, we love flow charts, but we also love Sankey diagrams. So this is a cool tool where on the left side here, you've got how much your income you're making, right? So this dude makes 60 grand a year, and he's got very little bank interest coming in. And then he's got all the expenses on the right side. And the reason I bring this up is because this is a great tool to talk to your spouse or people in your life about this stuff. I mean, maybe show of hands, who came here with their significant other? Okay, very few of you guys. So that's a problem, right? Because I coach a lot of people, and then it's always like one person's really into it, the other person's not. They're at home watching Netflix right now, or doing whatever, right? And you're here on a full day Saturday. So this is a great diagram that I've used for a lot of my guys, and because a lot of times they're just not motivated about it. But what you'll start to see as I start to scroll around the years is you start to say, hey, we picked up this #1 rental right here, and it's increasing our savings. Or if you really want to be smart about it, you say, hey, instead of like the beer budget here, this is your Macy's budget, right? Or if you're really unlucky, it's a Nordstrom budget or something like that. But you can visually see, as the years go by, how you're picking up that other rental, and it's directly impacting your savings rate. And this is how it happens. It's super slow, it's boring, but this is how to get rich slowly. So this is my story, like, you know, I'm this hamster in the rat race. I'm getting some promotions. I'm working like a dog, never going home. And I think this cartoon is kind of the rat race, right? We get caught up in the rat race. And at some point, when does it end, right? Great book, change or die. You gotta just, at some point, when is enough enough? For me, you know, this was kind of the point where I had my epiphany. When I had that third unit, I saw that this thing worked. I was able to kind of put away about $1,000 every month or so to, you know, just coming from passive investing. That was nowhere near like to replace my income at that point. But I saw where this was going. And if you kind of just go walk by year by year by year, I think, you know, if you kind of look where this is going, and you understand where my career was, like, I had some really bad bosses at that point. I got about 3-4 years into my career, and it was all fine, but then inevitably we all have bad bosses, right? I think a lot of my investors, there's always this point where things just kind of crack. And it's usually people or coworkers or something like that that kind of makes you come to this pivot point and realization that, like, now this is the way I'm gonna get myself out of this situation. So my message, as I went from this dude wearing the orange out in the field, doing 6:30 every morning briefings in the cold rain of Seattle, Washington, I became a little more grown up. I kind of came up with this little rule, and you guys can take a picture of it. We've got the slides later. But if you're able to save more than 30 grand a year, you're at a point where you have significant liquidity, like over 200 grand in your bank account, or able to invest, or maybe in your 401k. Being a landlord, and especially flipping, is not a scalable way of investing, and it's just a mere form of capital creation. If you notice, we're not talking about flipping houses today or wholesaling homes. That's a way of generating capital. I do real estate investing. Investing is, you need capital, right? If you don't have capital, you got a money problem. And you can do a lot of things to make money, right? And we're not really talking about any of them today. We're talking about investing, but you can sell drugs, you can go give people, do surgeries or whatever, right? Like, we're not talking about that today, you know. For some of you guys, you're like more engineers, doctors, lawyers, accountants. You guys' salary is probably high enough. You probably should start to think about syndications and private placements. That's kind of my ultimate guide to that, if you guys want to check that out. But I'm going to kind of talk more about single family homes, because I feel like that's where a lot of you guys are at today. This is kind of the progression that I see passive wealth building. Simple passive cash flow 0.0 is like, all right, dude, go get a job, right? Don't just come to this thing and be like, all right, I want to do this passive investing. No, dude, you need like some money. Get your butt to work. And then, you know, simple passive cash flow 1.0 is go get some turnkey rentals out on the mainland net cash flow. Get 1, 2, 3 of them. And then 2.0 is a transition to single family homes to more syndications and private placements. But I think the thing I've been kind of working on myself personally is this 3.0 concept of like, all right, you pretty much replace your income. You're infinity investing, and you need to find your passion. Because if it's golfing, you need to find something better to do. I'm sorry if you like golf, but I don't. So most of my investors are either below the ages of 30, above the ages of 40. I believe it has to do something with kids. I don't have kids yet, because I'm just being speculative here. But I think it's very hard when you don't have the time to do some of this stuff. But passive investing really shouldn't take too long. I mean, if you're spending 2 hours every day being a passive investor, you're doing it wrong. Again, a good picture here if you're interested in syndications and private placements. The full guide is there. It's got this little graph here. You guys don't really want to explain it, because it's really complicated and it's more a personal situation. But this is kind of the last on syndications. So kind of stepping forward, you know, at some point you scale up to syndications, and you add that to your portfolio. And this is kind of where I was very recently. I call this the crossover point 2.0. A lot of things going on. I'm sorry if you guys don't like grass, my guys like grass. So this is the, if you're doing things right, your passive income should be, like how we said, constantly increasing. And the green line there is like, you know, you're always kind of pushed to take that next promotion. A lot of my buddies, you know, we're kind of forced into middle management, going to more senior roles here in the federal government. You want to stay at the GS-12 level, but they kind of get shoved in the GS-13, 14 role. But to me, it's not worth it. Why would I want to take 10%, 20% more pay for 50% more BS? Like, it doesn't make sense. So that red line is kind of like, that's kind of me. You know, my motivation is going, whoo, doesn't make sense. Because my passive income is exponentially growing. And the more you go, the easier it gets. The hardest one is getting that first rental. And especially out of state, it's hard. LinkedIn always hits me up, hey man, do you want a job? No, I don't want to, I'm not looking for another job. So who here is a W-2 employee? Okay, a lot of you guys. So, if a lot of you guys are investing, here's some tips, some comic relief here. Some tips I use to kind of survive in a W-2 world. Number one, don't take promotions unless you have to. For example, the other guy who you don't like, who's an imbecile, is going to be your boss. Then you may want to take that role. Number two, swallow your pride. How many times at my workplace where I got told by my boss's boss, who I was making more money, by the way, passively investing, that I didn't understand about money or finances. And I'm like, dude, you can't even get your own family personal finances straight, don't tell me this. But anyway, number three, avoid energy drainers, right? Because when you're living in cubicle land, you got all these naysayers, the crabs in a bucket thing. And then the fourth thing is, you know, the age-old question to talk about investing or not talk about investing. My first 5 years at that private company, I would dare talk about investing. That would have definitely been used as a footnote on a quarterly review or something. Nowadays, I don't know. I feel like it's best not to talk about it. That's just kind of my thing. I'll call it my buddy Dean now. Dean, so you started investing what, 2012? 2012, and so your story is very interesting, right? Like you bought in Vegas. What did your friends think about when you're buying these things?
I actually got talked out of it by one friend who bought before the subprime crisis. So he was underwater, so he's saying, yeah, don't do it because I'm underwater right now. He ended up walking away on a short sale, and I ended up buying a year later, realizing kind of take advantage of, not to say what he lost out on, but you know, kind of take advantage of the prices, the deflated prices.
Yeah, so fast forward, what, 10, 12 years later, what are you doing now?
I'm buying residential real estate, buy and hold here and on the mainland, mostly in the Midwest.
But more importantly, how's the W-2 like?
I actually put in notice a few weeks ago. I'm quitting my job, giving up my pension and my medical to be focus on real estate investing and real estate sales.
Yeah. So it's real. Yeah, good job. You're actually kind of one of my heroes because like here I am, I keep going to work every day. And it's really hard to, number one, give up that identity that you went to your parents sent you to this like school, private school. I don't know what I was doing there 2 months, and then you go to college. Keep my butt up in Seattle for like 14 years. And yeah, it becomes your identity, and then plus it's like easy money, right? Like I get these 2 paychecks that I don't barely do anything for, keeps coming in. So definitely getting out of your comfort zone for that. So fast forward, year 8, you know, it's pretty obvious. 2018, I moved back to Hawaii, and 2018, I started partnering with investors in my private circle. Who also who we do a pipeline club. We've acquired $255 million of real estate and raised over $13 million from my investors, about 120 investors or so. There's my buddy Patrick. We started this company, and you know, that's like, I think that's a big key is like the people that you sit here. It's good to talk, right? I know it's very uncomfortable to talk about finances normally, but when people are on like-minded, I think it's really cool when you can kind of link up and climb the ladder of success together. So that's kind of the first section. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? All right, moving on. So tips for out-of-state investors. So just know that all my advice is coming from a passive investor. And I like how I made this slide perfect for Toby's analogy of get away from the pain, go to the pleasure. So this is a discussion on active versus passive investing. Active investing is like wholesaling, flipping, developing. Passive invested, that's the good side, rentals, private money lending, commercial, triple net leases, notes. How do you pick one, right? Like, you know, you can kind of read the footnotes. This is where, if you have the time, you have a good network of contractors or trades, you build houses for a living. Passive investors is like, you have money, you have high network friends, your W2 hourly rate's more than $80 an hour, or you're making at least 60 grand a year at your job. You have good management skills from your workplace. That's one of the good things about going to work, I guess. And then you get into think, what do you have to work with? The 4 big resources are time, money, knowledge, and network. So I give free introduction calls to people who kind of come to my website, and I kind of point them in the right direction. And this is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to hear your situation out. How much time do you have? Are you broke? You know, have you been listening to your podcast, at least reading the books, right? And then what kind of a network do you have? Big part of it. You guys go to simplepassivecashflow.com/analyzer. I have my free analyzer there. I got a little video, 8-minute video trying to teach you it, but this is kind of the nitty-gritty on like if you want to run the numbers on a property, you can download it there. But I mean, here it is. I kind of put it best as I could cut and paste it on there. But again, simple passive cash flow analyzer. But today I just want to go over the high level on this. So say a guy brings you a deal, right? And he's like, hey man, I got this deal. It's gonna rent for $1,000, right? And all right, let's just believe him, right? It's a broker. But there's this rule called the 50% rule where you need to assume that 50% of that rent will go to expenses. And here's how I break it down. So that $1,000 monthly rent, $100 will go to your property manager, $100 will go to repairs, $100 will go to vacancy and large replacements, or CapEx, and $100, who knows. But one key thing as a passive investor, we're paying third-party property management to do the day-to-day, because that's always a big thing. Well, who's gonna manage this property for me? I don't wanna do it. Yeah, we don't wanna do it. Like, do I know how to do an eviction? I don't know. Like, or do a plumbing repair or this, I don't know. Like, that's their job. Pay professionals. You wanna be an investor, not a landlord. And then I've been doing this for such a long time that I know that you're just gonna have to, $400 of those dollars you're just gonna have to put in a bank account. And you're gonna have to pay it. So then you better have enough to pay your PITI, which is your mortgage payment at the end of the day. That's one big rule that we follow. Next is, all right, how do I quickly analyze properties? And there's this thing called the rent-to-value ratio. Rent-to-value ratio can be found by taking your monthly rent, dividing by the purchase price, and that's your RV ratio, rent-to-value ratio. So our example here is a $100,000 home. Okay, let me just say, like, I'm buying a lot of $100,000 houses in the mainland. Right, and you can get it all in Indy too, right? A lot of these places, if you're thinking that's crazy, that's what I thought in the beginning. But this is how most of America lives. So, take a $100,000 house that rents for $1,000, you go 1,000 divided by 100,000, that's 1%. So that's kind of the cool thing you're trying to find that's higher than that 1% goal. Full article there, simplepassivecashflow.com/RV. You're like to read about this stuff. So Hawaii, the place I live in right now is worth $950,000. It's like this super old house in Moanalua. I rented for $3,000. The rent to value ratio is 0.33%. That sucks. And I think a misnomer is like people say, we're definitely beating up Hawaii investing, I think today, which is true. But it's not really that it's so expensive, it's the rent to value ratio. The amount of money you're getting back per money invested is not strong. So Seattle, when I bought that first property in 2010, $350,000 purchase price, it rented for $2,200, that equals 0.63%. That sucks too, but I didn't know any better. So here's a discussion on, okay, where do we want to buy our properties? And I'll define what primary, secondary, and tertiary markets are. So primary markets are cool places to live, like Hawaii, Los Angeles, Miami, Boston, DC, New York. Right? These are like the top tier markets, and you're not gonna find the rental value ratios needed to cash flow there. It'll be more of appreciation play, but as we say in Vegas, it's gambling. And I just don't think it's just no bueno. You're gonna be banging your head against the wall trying to make something work there. And I think what's worse is, in primary markets, you have a lot of high income earners. Rich people don't necessarily mean sophisticated investors, and you don't wanna be competing with those people. I'll tell you a little story. When I was, in 2012, I was in Bellevue, Washington, home of Microsoft. And I would go to these like little real estate meetups, and they would talk about the tax lien auction stuff, because I was just searching for whatever, because I was like, oh my God, things aren't cash flowing, what do I do? So I'd go there, and like these guys, these old Microsoft programmers, were just like eating this stuff up. And then I realized that none of these guys had a clue what they were doing, but they just had a lot of money. And I realized I needed to get the heck out of this room and do something other than what these people are going to do. So I started to look at secondary markets. Birmingham, Atlanta, there they are, read it for yourself. There's probably another dozen I can probably think of. Great places to start looking on your buying. Today, it's been a bull market for about a decade now. It's hard to even make secondary markets work. Tertiary markets are that third tier. They're a little bit smaller. And you can definitely get, I think a lot of the dumb money that were in primary markets are kind of moving to secondary markets today. And I think you always gotta be one step ahead of the curve. So some of the tertiary markets, like I bought a few apartments in Huntsville, Alabama. Got that RV park in Lake Charles, and another one, Gulfport, Mississippi. And I bet you guys haven't heard of these places, but they have good, strong economic drivers, population growth. So some of these, I wanted to kind of point some of these out, and you guys, this is more of an opinion, so you guys can send me hate mail later, but I kind of call these guys, like, we don't know what they are. I feel like Tacoma, Washington, you would say would be a secondary market, but it's so near Seattle that the tides of Seattle kind of raise it up. Kapolei, Hawaii, it's not Honolulu, right? No, it's all primary market. This is Hawaii. You're not gonna find stuff that works out there. And don't even get me started with like winery. Nobody wants to ever buy, you're not gonna get a retail sale in winery, really. It's hard. The rent to value ratios aren't gonna work in the first place. Sorry for guys in Las Vegas and Phoenix. I feel like that's where a lot of the dumb money goes. Sorry, Dean, I know you got Las Vegas. Yeah, but you bought it at the right time, right? And that's the thing. The last 5 years, a lot of the dumb money in Los Angeles, San Francisco, where do they go? They go places where they're comfortable. Oh, I've been to Las Vegas a couple times. I know it exists. I'm gonna go invest in there, in Phoenix. And this kind of chart just kind of shows this, right? The places that have that thing come up where the market hits, these are the places that go to the red really quickly. The Phoenixes and the Las Vegases. So that's kind of why I kind of stay in the secondary and tertiary markets, because they don't go sky high, kind of where we are today. So in a recession, you're okay. You're cash flowing, right? This picture didn't come up, but basically it's a bunch of arrows pointing down to the southern half of America. Why? Because people are getting older, baby boomers. Well, people don't like old areas, so they like to move down. Says John Burns in his book, Big Shifts Ahead. Great book for those of you guys who like that kind of stuff. Here's the one thing I like to look at. It's called the van line report, the van line. So if you're like a white collar worker or professional being moved around with your company, a lot of times they'll relocate you to wherever the jobs are going, but they'll move all your stuff for you. So that's kind of, you can look this up by yourself, right? You can see kind of where the trends are going. But I caught you there, right? This is bad data. Because this is where the rich people are going, white collar, right? I invest in blue collar neighborhoods, class B and C. And what you really should be doing is following where the cheap people are going, the blue collar workers, which is the U-Haul. They get their pizza, their buddies, and they pack up their house and move it. So here are the kind of the states where they're moving off to: Texas, Florida, Arkansas, a lot of the southeast for jobs. You can find a lot of these kinds of data up here. I just kind of put this here because you can put all these things on graphs and look at it. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today was class and properties locations. So let's talk about property classes. This is not neighborhoods. So property classes, class A is what we call luxury properties. This is like the Kaka'ako, new high rises, less than 10 years old, white collar tenants. These don't work. The people investing in this are institutional investors, big hedge funds that just want to have capital preservation for their investors, or sub 5% rates of return. So stay away from that. B class is a little more maintenance, good appreciation potential, blue and white collar tenants. Can't really think of any of that stuff off the top of my head for Hawaii, but maybe like Pearl City would be class C, I guess, or mostly blue collar, section 8, building 30 years old, so like 1970s, 1960s, great cash flow. D and F property, you want to stay away from that. So this is just like the building type, and I think a lot of the biggest determinant is like how old the property is. So like if it's built 2010 or newer, it's class A. Class B is 1990s-ish. 1980s is class C. 1970s class C. Anything older is class D and F. Any questions on this?
Where would you go to like look for it if you're just looking out of state?
This is not posted anywhere.
Oh,
This is just,
you
you gotta ask your broker. But here's the rule with the broker. When the broker tells you, oh, I got a good C-class property or B-class property, you know it's a C. You just downgrade it one. So what I try and do is I like class C plus, B minus-ish. And I try and do a little bit of rehab. In the beginning, when I did turnkey properties, I didn't do anything in terms of rehab. But today, when we buy the big apartments, I put in like $5,000 of rehab and it gets you a little nicer cabinets, flooring, etc. And that kind of pushes it up a little bit. But I don't like to do big redevelopment stuff. I call it cash flow. So that was asset classes, this is neighborhood classes. So class A is the safe, desirable locations. B is a little bit more iffier place. I don't want to offend anybody, but like the class A place is like where the young female can go running around at nighttime, Class B, I don't know, maybe the dudes can do it. at nighttime. Class C, when I go check out, I was checking out my property in Fort Worth, a few months ago. I kinda didn't wanna feel comfortable getting out of the car. We went to, when we were in Oklahoma City, we went to our Class C property. My fiance will tell me I didn't really wanna get out of the car, it's a Class C. It was in the beginning of the reposition, so, mostly for her safety, right, yeah. D and F, definitely a lot of violent crime there. Obviously, the thoughts are like, oh, I want in a better location, right? But what you take is what you give up, the cash flow, right? And the security, and you wanna try and stay in the better location, right? That's the ideal thing. You wanna find a C-class property and a B, a better area. Because you can't really do anything about the neighborhood. You can sort of reposition the property, but you can't do anything about the neighborhood. This image, awesome image to take a picture of, is in Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. Probably the only book you really need to read. I think one of the biggest things that I see that a lot of investors make is they read a lot of books. Stop reading books, just analyze a lot of properties and buy a property. Simple. So this is the lay of land, this is the monopoly. The greenhouses are on the top, the red apartments, not hotels, but apartments on the bottom. And this is where they kind of fall in the whole scheme of things. And remember we said like $100,000 property is pretty normal in the domestic US. This is my little drawing of a bell curve where most people in America live in. And it's centered around D-class houses, D and C-class houses, and C and B-class apartments. It's not here. In Hawaii, it's very weird. Like, we live sort of here and drive Corollas around all day long. But in America, I think if you're able to come on a Saturday and kind of leisurely learn about this stuff, you're probably in the better half of the population group. Just my guess. But most people live like that. A lot of good people who work very hard live like this. So here's just kind of my thoughts on what's happening in the next 5 to 20 years. The baby boomers, they'll downgrade to C, B, and A class apartments. A lot of them can't, the house is too big. And we're seeing that a lot. A lot of them are downsizing. Gen Xers will kind of take up the void. They're increasing their net worth. Just like the Gen Ys, they're increasing their net worth, stepping up to, take the B and C class single family homes and A and B class apartments. The millennials will move out of their parents' basements and the C class houses and B class apartments. So there's just a constant movement in the scape. But what happens in a recession, right? Because you always gotta think of the downside, and this is what people get tripped up from not doing anything. Well, in a recession, I believe this population curve will shift backwards. So this big, I call it the shift. The A's will move to the B's will move to the C's will move to the D's. And the millennial will move back home at their parents. Market cycles. Everybody talks about this, but I just wanted to kind of show it to you if you haven't seen this before. The market goes up and down in 8 to 12-year cycles. If you do the math, 2018 was 11 years ago here. So we're due for one. It's going to happen. My opinion, you can see all this data here. Some things I look at are like the unemployment rate, right? Like, if you can't find a job right now, the problem is with you. If your kid is at home, can't find a job, it's your problem. No, it's not. But look, unemployment is at 3%. I believe that's the floor. It can't really go any lower than that. There's a big article. Has anybody heard about ghosting? Not on Tinder, but at their professional workplaces. People are so inundated with so many job opportunities that they just ghost the employer. They don't even show up to job interviews. Because they're millennials and they don't want to talk to people and they don't want to say they're not interested anymore. But that's just the environment we're in today, right? I think it was 5-6 years ago, everybody was sort of complaining, man, I can't find a job. But now, we're in one of the best times in the economy right now. Things are booming. This is personally what I'm up to. I have two big categories, or criteria when I invest. Number one, it has to have force appreciation. So what that means is that there has to be ability to do some little bit of rehab, not too much, again, like $5,000 of CapEx per unit, to put really nice lipstick on the pig, essentially, and bump that value. Because if there is a recession, that hopefully can get me out of the water and sell quickly, or give me options to hold. Number two, I think we've been talking about this all day, and this is probably the biggest one. Don't buy anything on pro forma, that means no development. If it's not cash flowing today, don't buy it. Whenever I go into the deal, I look at the last 12-month P&Ls, profit and loss statements. I can see what it is making. Not like, oh, when we build it in like 6 to 18 months, this is what it should make. No bueno on that. Like, it has to cash flow today. And just some quick tips on being an out-of-state investor. I call this being the squeaky wheel. When you have your property management company, you want to kind of be involved a little bit, say how are things going, keeping them accountable. At the same time, you won't become that guy. And when you mean that guy, it's like that guy who's super annoying and then they want to fire you, or treat you even worse, so you leave them. And I also believe that you have to always, your house has to be a good value exchange, right? Like you want to give referrals to your property management company if you're doing a good job. It'll increase their business to scale, and then it's the right thing to do, and they can hire more staff. Yeah, it's the right thing to do, and don't be another Waldo out there in terms of investing. Don't always look at what other people are doing. If other people are doing that, you probably should think and do the opposite. Here's an example of I think people always use examples. So here's I wrote an email to my property manager. I was like, hey, I just put in italics your copy and paste from your last email that you told me you're gonna do this thing. Just following up on this. This is a good example of being a squeaky wheel. Maybe they just are inundated with emails and they're just not able to get to it. So be organized, hold people accountable. Here's a cool tip. I call them lane hacks. I have a list of them on my website, but if you go to followupthen.com, a free account, you can write yourself notes to yourself or email yourself 10 days in the future, and it'll pop into your inbox, and then it'll just be kind of crazy. One of my investors was this young kid, and I was like, all right, 365 days at followupthen.com, and I emailed him back, and he was like, whoa, you're crazy, man. I was like, no, man, I just was thinking about you, So it's most people don't do stuff like this, right? But this is a good way to be organized. Another photo opportunity here, but I looked at all kinds of ways to invest. And this is what they are, and here's the pro. Everything has pros and cons to it. And based on certain, your resources here, certain things are good, certain things are bad. This is another one that my guys love. It's a little complicated here. So on this is more on the lower risk side. This is more on the higher risk side. If you look at the x-axis, you guys know what x and y-axis are. On the y-axis is the reward. So your analyzed return that you could be getting. So this is the line and then you could do better. So everything below that line is either a lot of high risk is lending money to your friends and family. High risk, very low reward. Bonds, REITs, mutual funds. I mean, the problem here with all these retail investments is that, like we said, right, Toby, 4% are going to the man, right? They're screwing you. They're robbing you blind. My parents got screwed. They don't even know it. They're still working today. These are, you want to stay above the line, and unfortunately, these require a little bit of work to go find the guy to do it yourself. I'm sorry, if you don't want to put in the work, then you have to be down here. I like to do, turnkey rentals are over here, I believe. And then, I think a lot of people, they get wrapped up in land investing and developing and flipping. higher risk, higher reward. I don't do that stuff. I got a good day job. I don't need to take chances. So I stay on this side. Here's an analogy I like to use. It's sushi. So like most people, not this and it doesn't work here, but on the mainland I do all the talking. People on the mainland don't eat raw fish for some strange reason. It's crazy. But they like, you know, the way to get them to eat sushi is like give them the California roll, like, right? Most people are queasy about raw fish. So you give them that, like, oh, this is good, man. And you're like, all right, here's the tempura shrimp, right? Oh, this is really good. This is seafood. Oh yeah, it's seafood. And then you get them on the spicy tuna, right? And they like that. And then you say, haha, that was raw fish. So that's kind of like the turnkey rental, right? Like this is the stuff like I'm gonna go invest in some guy's deal in Hawaii because I can feel it, I can touch it, you know, I drive by there. But your return sucks. You're taking on all the risk and getting like paid like 10% return on your investment. It's the California roll. I mean, who really likes the California roll? It's the best sushi. I mean, so the turkey rental I feel like is the spicy tuna, and it's a good way to start. But then and things get better, obviously, but it's hard to uncover. So kind of to wrap up here, this is how I believe that you should build your wealth from like more of a professional W-2 earner perspective. Is like get started with a couple turnkey rentals, Indianapolis, wherever. Just buy something and get started. You're gonna pay retail price, but who cares? It's gonna be a heck of a lot better than getting insulted in the stock market. You pick up a few of these, and then once you build up your war chest, your net worth. You don't need to be an accredited investor to go invest in syndications. You just have to know the guy. I think that's a big misnomer. Certain deals, when they're mass marketed, they can only go out to accredited investors. But if you know the syndicator, then you can get in the deal. I think it's 90 to 97, I heard two different statistics, but 90 to 97% of deals are for non-accredited investors too. It's none of y'all are finding those guys. The same. The CrowdStreet and all these online portals, they're kind of online dating and crowdfunding, I believe. They can't find investors, that's why they go on the internet. So this is kind of the progression, right? You keep on picking up more deals, you're increasing your cash flow. This is a good example, like, you want something really simple, to keep you motivated, make something like this for yourself. This little chart to show you, how you're going. And you kind of see it, and you kind of start to like replace your income, right around here. Ask me later about life settlements. It's kind of very sad thing to invest in, but it's kind of cool. Hotels, more higher risk, higher return stuff, right? Hotels are super risky. But when you have all this stuff to put food on the table, especially when you have that easy cruise day job, you can go after some home runs. But the key is put the bottom layer of the pyramid, not a pyramid scheme, but the pyramid is like super stable class B and C assets, and then put on like the fun stuff. We also talked about opportunity fund, having dry powder to go after a deal. This is how I do it. I always have about 50, 100 grand in my on deck circle is what I call it. I use this thing called AHP fund. You can Google search it, AHP. They give like 10% paid monthly. They used to sponsor my podcast, but they're so good they don't need me anymore, and I raised a lot of money for them, so they don't sponsor me anymore. But I think it's a hell of an investment. Obviously read your own stuff, but these are kind of the off the beaten path, more directly managed funds that are pretty good. I also like the combo that with infinite banking, if you guys know about that. Being your own bank, it's using whole life, whole insurance. Most times life insurance is a scam. This one you're using it a little differently. So that's kind of where I'm at today is like, you know, I'm not near like passively, being able to quit my job, to replace my income, cause it's kinda hard to do that. Especially when like, I kinda don't mind going to work, because if not, I would just stay home all day and eat junk food and do nothing and never change my clothes. So I kinda like going to work cause it keeps me accountable. Yeah. But I kinda had this mindset a little while ago where like, alright, I see where I'm going. By the time I'm like 35, 40 years old, I'm definitely gonna be financially free, so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go to the beach and drink my favorite beverage and do nothing, right? And I think that's cool. I mean, I think you get to that point, and I did, and I was like, for like about a few weeks there, I thought it was like the best thing. I was like walking around, like super cool, but I thought that that was like a really lame way of doing things. It was kind of a lame way of doing things. If you rewind the clock a little bit, 2016, I started this podcast, Simple Passive Cash Flow. On Google Play, iTunes, YouTube. Had my meetup in Seattle at the time. I just moved back about a year ago, back home. And did a bunch of charity stuff. But then it started to blow up like very shortly after, like a year later. Because the reason I started this podcast was that all my buddies would ask me like, oh, how do you buy these properties that you've never even seen? And I was like, you know, I tell them, right? But then it gets really like tiring after like you tell all these people and nobody does anything. So I recorded it, and you know, I started getting all this like weird fan mail. Like people are like coming out of the woodwork, and I meet a lot of cool people like Dean and Daniel and all these guys. And a lot of them become like probably some of my best, closest friends today. And it's really hard to meet friends after the age of 25. It's damn near impossible. So you guys can read all the testimonials there. It's really cool stuff. It's never happened to me before. I went to Tony Robbins. I'm taking my group. I think there's like about 30 of us going up to Tony Robbins in about a month. You guys want to come along with that, you can join the crew. But he talks about contribution a lot. You can't just sit on the beach and do whatever. So this is what kind of resonated with me, because I haven't seen like all these people going through financial struggle, people living in Kapolei, commuting to Honolulu 2-3 hours a day. You know, this is life for us, right? Like just live in this traffic. The dream is to buy this nice house that's super far away, that you never get to like see your kids because you're driving all the time. But they get to hang out in the big yard, right? I guess that's important. Retirement systems are a joke here, and then, you know, this is just the kaka'ako thing, like that's just like, that's a punch in the face, right? Because that's how the 1% are living. That's not how the local people are living here. And it's just, the separation between the haves and have-nots in Hawaii, I think, is like very, very apparent as opposed to the US mainland. So for me, that's kind of like where I see what's kind of wrong with my little world. So I try and do what I can. Anyway, I can kind of get people started investing, whether it's turnkey rentals. The problem I think that is like, people don't have the first step, right, to get started. What I would suggest is going to my podcast. If you're into single family homes, take a listen to the first 20 podcasts, they're free. A lot of the stuff I forget what I talked about. I'm just talking single family homes too much. And I kind of came upon this thing called Ikigai. It's this intersection between passion, mission, profession, vacation. It's like, you know, like you got that buddy who does like pottery, he's really good at pottery, and he really likes it, but it doesn't make any freaking money because nobody really wants it. Like that's a hobby, right? Like I think we're all trying to find in Simple Passive Cash Flow 3.0 is like, what is it where you can wrap it up where you can make money because the world needs it? There's a real need for it. So check out my website, simplepassivecashflow.com, my investor club. I have a little meetup here in Hawaii, raaloha.com, and that's my email. And if you guys got any questions, now's the time to ask.
Have you ever managed trustees? This was like a bulk money lending kind of thing?
That's kind of like private money lending.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Again, that's kind of like funding a flipper's deal, right? Like the returns are less than 12%. I'm not interested. I'm more interested in equity deals.
Are there any requirements or who deal pipeline flow? What do you need to be able to join or get in on that?
It's free, just go on there. I mean, it's mostly like, I vet my investors out. If I don't like you, you're not getting in. You're investment friend, right? I mean, no jerks allowed. It's free, so I get to filter whoever I want. I mostly do bigger deals. From time to time, like, someone will send me like a turnkey rental and I'll throw it out to the list, but, I mean, I'm kind of getting out of the single family home world myself. I had 11 last year, 2017, I sold off 6, I believe, because I'm transferring it into syndications and private placements. I still have 4, which, I'll try and sell off this year.
So your who deal pipeline doesn't do the syndication?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
Yeah. But the smaller stuff, I don't really plan like that.
So kind of following up on what kind of a scale are we talking about with the?
Oh, so I think a good range that we like to stay in is like between $1 million and $10 to $20 million range. I think if you get above $1 million, you get above the mom and pop investors, right? The dumb money is what I call it. And then you stay below the institutions. You know, these guys will come in and buy a 300-unit apartment, Class B in Texas, and just overpay. They don't care.
And how many, so like 100,000 per person is kind of the.
Usually about 50
minimum,
is about the minimums. You can find deals out there for 25, I believe, but usually the sponsor is a little new.
Right.
That's why they have to do 25, because they're kind of desperate to get investors. So it's 50 grand usually. And from what I see most times, like, the people that should invest in these deals, like, they don't wanna put more than 5% of their net worth into any one deal. So when your net worth becomes like $500,000, $1 million and above, you're going 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 into all these different deals. And you're diversifying 4 ways. First, different locations, you know, all over the map. Next is different partners, right? Like I invest with all different partners, not just one guy, because I've had serious trust issues, and I believe at some point somebody will possibly screw you. So I'm gonna diversify myself that way. And then third, different asset classes. I do mostly multifamily because I understand that's the best, but I am understanding that may not be good for only eggs in that one basket. So I like multiple home parks, self-storage, assisted living. That's where I'm kind of learning these days. I mean, it's all new to me too. And then the last is like different business plans. Some of these deals are more 5-year pump and dumps where you put a little bit of, you know, $5 grand per unit. Increase the rents first few years and then sell in year 5, some are more, cash every 5, and then hold legacy holds.
When you sell, do you actually run out or do you do a 1031 or something, include something else?
You cash everybody else because everybody, you know, there's like, these deals, there's like 20 to 50 investors. Everybody's gonna have their own thing. I think that's when you kind of get with a guy like Kobe and you talk about, you know, going into the next deal and using bonus depreciation and taxes and stuff like that.
do you guys ever get an opportunity zone?
I'm not a big fan of the opportunities. I think it's been used as a real buzzword these days because you're just deferring taxes. Just like how the saying is like, never want to spend money to save 30 cents on taxes. Never spend $1 to save 30 cents in taxes. The same thing. You don't want to like go into a bad deal just because it's labeled opportunity zone. It's not a good way of investing, right? So you're just doing it for the tax reason. I think with the current bonus depreciation, where you can do 100% in year 1, and that's all you need. I mean, I think some of my clients, they have like 400, they read the purple book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and they're, oh my God, this is the best thing. I got 400 grand in my 401k, I got to get it out there. And at that point, I think that's when you kind of talk to Toby about, all right, we need to do some like settlements or oil and gas investments to get the AGI down, so I can take all this money out. But if you're just using your current liquidity, nothing too crazy, I mean, bonus depreciation should be all you really need.
On your mobile home park deal, where is it, and are you just renting space, or are there homes involved?
Yeah, so Moberly, Missouri, if you wanna Google it, it's like hour and a half east of Kansas City. Not in the middle of nowhere, and that's kinda exactly where you want to have mobile home parks. Where there's never gonna be any development, because you're trying to capture the Class D investor or tenant. And mobile home parks, you don't wanna own the homes, you want to own just the land, because the home becomes sort of a liability, because you know, these guys are kinda like grown kids, right? They screw stuff all the time, you want them to own the mobile home parks. And it sort of becomes like, it sort of becomes like their deposit, they own this thing, and if they don't pay the rent, now you can go collect on their home that they own. So that you can buy parks all different ways, but you wanna kind of move towards a business model where you don't own the home. Yeah, I'm not I don't know mobile home parks too much. I know enough to be dangerous, I know enough to vet the operators, but I don't know it as well as like apartments. But all the ins and outs, I think that's the key as investors, and especially limited partner investors, you're not gonna know everything. It's just good to kind of invest slowly, and at some point, it's just more about trusting people, and that's my secret, is like, I just go to different groups, join different masterminds, travel to different conferences, and build my friends. I don't go talk to a syndicator, I don't talk to the operator, I talk to people sitting next to me. And we build friendships over the years, and we swap notes. There's an even value exchange. And it's kind of hard work, right? Like, kind of hard to do. But, I mean, that's what I say, like, during the break, you shouldn't be sitting there, you're doing your notes, you should be talking to other people, because you never know when that next person is gonna be the right, person who's gonna tip you off to which property management company you're gonna use. Like, in Birmingham, I have like 3-4 other guys that I met through the internet, and we always like, oh, hey, I'm moving property management companies because these guys are like just ripping me off, and we all kind of move together. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want some people like referrals that I've used in the past, you can shoot me an email, no problem. I think the problem with turnkey guys is that guys who make turnkey rentals, that's kind of the lower end of the totem pole in terms of rehabbers. Because if they're a good rehabber, they should move to more retail flips. Right? They should move up in the hierarchy. So the people who were good turnkey providers 3-4 years ago, they've moved on. Right? So you don't have perennial guys. I mean, there are a few of them out there, but it's way overpriced. But they can, because their marketing is so strong, they can charge whatever. They've got 1 billion guys from Los Angeles or California to buy this stuff. All right, thanks everybody.
So let's do this, let's take 5 minutes, there's some cookies and brownies and stuff, so that's just to get in the last little rush here. Paul Taylor's gonna come up, we're gonna talk about acquiring cash flow properties, and then I'm gonna finish up today with some actual concrete steps that we will take. And thanks again.